Hi, I'm Chef Joe Murphy, co-host of the Chef's Table series. This show is produced by the Chef's Table Foundation, and I would like to tell you all that we are shooting at the Mother Brook Arts and Community Center, I believe 123 High Street in Dedham. If you like arts, you'll love Mother Brook Arts and Community Center. And I believe there are 40 artists here, and it's just a great place. And we're here tonight on culinary arts, which really is an art form. But having said that, we're very, very pleased. We have a wonderful chef. He owns a restaurant in Dedham Square, and I'm going to pronounce his first name and then let him say his last name, as well as I'll do the same with the restaurant name because I get tongue-tied. So tonight we're pleased to have Chef Xeno
Sountoulidis.
And he is one of the owners of Kouzina
Estiatorio.
Right, which means restaurant.
Restaurant.
Very
Right.
good. And tonight, just keep in mind that the show is designed to be instructional. So I may be telling you, Chef just gave you a great tip, or as usual, I may come up with a lot of great tips myself. But trying to be humble, but in any event, it's really a lot of fun, and cooking can be fun if you just follow some of the simple steps that professionals do, and it makes your cooking experience go a lot smoother, and the finished product will be much, much tastier. So, Chef, what's on the menu for tonight?
We will be making braised lamb shank tonight and roasted lemon potatoes.
Oh, two great. I love those. I love both of them.
Can't go wrong.
Right. One thing I always talk about for the home cook or home chef, do what the professionals do. And the French term is mise en place. And simply stated, it means everything in its place. And that means have all your ingredients laid out. Doesn't have to be scaled. In a cookbook, you'll see TT. It means two tastes, so you can take away or add. And we have everything all set. So, Chef, if you wouldn't mind just showing us what your ingredients are tonight.
Well, the ingredients for the lamb shank, we have diced onions. I use the food processor to chop those up.
Okay, great.
Fresh tomato.
Wow.
Same, use the food processor, chop that
You
up.
just pulse it?
Pulse it,
Yeah.
so it's not, you don't want to turn it into liquid.
Right.
That is our sugar.
Sugar, wow, okay,
Fresh chopped garlic.
great.
Fresh granulated garlic, that'll be for our potatoes.
Okay,
Fresh basil,
wow, love basil.
bay leaves,
Bay leaves, right?
salt and pepper, of course.
Yeah, now this looks like a coarse grind pepper.
That's oregano.
Oh, I'm sorry, I told you I was blind.
There's the pepper.
Okay. And you have oregano, and this is
Salt.
kosher salt?
Yes.
Okay. I stopped talking about this, but you never know when you have a new viewer. In a professional restaurant, you will not find table salt in the kitchen. And I must say, I was surprised. We just recently done 2 Indian shows. They use table salt. But in any other cuisine, you're going to find either kosher salt or sea salt. Table salt, as you know, is a very fine grind. So it's not as easy for portion control, okay? Italian chefs will use sea salt because they feel, because it's from the ocean, I don't know if...
Well, same with Greeks. We're surrounded by the ocean,
Right.
so it's easy to acquire.
So that is a tip for you. If you are using salt, my recommendation, use the larger crystal, a kosher, and if you're cooking a seafood, use a sea salt, because that just merges right in with the fish, okay? The other thing you may want to know from a health standpoint, if you had 1 pound of kosher salt and 1 pound of table salt, the sodium content is the same. But if you had 1 cup of table salt versus 1 cup of sea salt or kosher salt, your sodium content is about half. So that to me is another good reason to use a sea salt or kosher salt, because you cut down your sodium content. And I truly believe the flavor profile on a kosher sea salt is a lot nicer,
Yes.
okay, than a table salt. So
But you shouldn't have a cup of salt at any one sitting.
exactly.
Ever. So
Well, yeah.
just make that
right,
clear.
Right. Maybe in Italian cuisine
Maybe,
they do
yeah.
that. Who knows? Not the Greeks. Now, I asked before the show, I asked Chef, is that Greek olive oil or Italian? And he said, well, Greek is better than Italian. He said, can I say that?
He's paraphrasing. He's paraphrasing.
So I said to him, you can say it on the show. After the show, I'm disowning you, okay? But in any event, we didn't mention the olive oil. Now you're doing
Yes.
the roasted potato as well, so you have a rustic chop,
Yeah.
I guess you'd say. You know, a nice
Decent
chop.
size.
Yeah. And then I want to talk about the lamb shanks, because I wanted to know a few things myself. So these lamb shanks, correct?
It's what's known as the lamb foreshank. That's the
Okay.
technical term for it.
Yeah.
Lamb shank, people typically know, any butcher shop, they'll know what you're talking about.
Right.
But technically that's the foreshank, that's the front, comes from the front upper part of the leg of the lamb.
Right. Okay. Is it leaner? I'm guessing it might be if it's on the front
I
portion.
don't know, I trimmed them up pretty good.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, they
No,
look-
it is pretty fatty,
Yeah,
but
I was thinking when
that's what you want when
right,
you're braising a meat.
Right. When I was looking at it, I said, gee, I wonder if you buy them all.
No,
trimmed
no.
like
So
this.
I do trim them. That's
Yeah. Okay.
what you do want to do. Get rid of any excess fat.
Right,
Just
right. And most of the lamb comes from Australia.
Australia, New Zealand.
Zealand, right.
It's always spring lamb.
Yeah, over there.
Always in season.
Yeah, because, here in a spring lamb, which we get around Easter time generally, it's a young lamb.
It's a young lamb.
It's
It's pricey.
Right, and later in the year, that lamb is older, it's a little stronger.
The meat's a little
flavor.
tougher. It's a little gamier.
Right.
So
you can always get the spring lamb from New Zealand.
They always have it.
In Australia. Okay, Chef. So what's our first step?
first step, we'll get this guy going.
I want to tell you, we are using what they call an induction burner. Induction burners are used, you'll see them in catering lines or buffets in hotels or restaurants. And one of the benefits is there's no open flame. It works with the magnetic process. I don't know how that works, but it does. But we have special pans. When they first came out, the pans were off the charts expensive. They've dropped in price. So anyways,
We want to get medium-high heat. I've just added a little olive oil. What we're going to be doing is browning the lamb shank.
excellent.
So grab these guys, throw them right in here.
Great.
It starts to get a little hot.
Now, generally, we just turned this on, so you can hear it now. It's just starting to sizzle. Would you recommend that pan be smoking hot when you throw it in
I
there?
like it really hot when I throw it in there because I want to get a nice sear. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and let's see if it really forms caramelization.
I think it enhances the flavor a little bit.
Does, yeah,
It gives it a nicer color too.
right. Yeah, because again, keep in mind that cooking is really about building flavors, okay? In this searing process, you're bringing out sugars or caramelization, if you will, and that's going to really add to the flavor. So, Chef, you're searing and browning.
Yep.
Okay.
Just going to season these with a little salt and pepper.
Okay, great. And again, this is to taste, I'm guessing.
To
what
taste,
it is? Yeah,
of course.
Okay. I'm sure
There we go.
Chef has done thousands of these, but I will tell you this, use discretion in the beginning on salting or, putting pepper on, because at the end you can always finish, if it needs a little bit more seasoning, salt or pepper, you can always do
Yes,
that.
and we are going to be seasoning, obviously, our braising sauce
Yeah.
at the end, which we'll be tasting. So,
So we should talk about braising for a moment. Braising is just really taking a meat that might be a little bit on the tougher side And what you want to do is tenderize it. So in the braising process, you put liquid in. Now, chef, I've had different chefs say they go up halfway with the liquid, or they go up 3/4. What would you recommend?
With these, I go about 3/4. I'd rather go more than less.
Yeah, okay. And the braising process really is you just let it come to a simmer. You're not boiling it.
Right, correct.
Because the simmer over a period of time is going to tenderize that tougher cut of meat. All right? If you boil it, that meat is going to stay tough.
Tougher,
stringy.
yeah.
So remember, braising is more of a simmering, not a boiling. It's just get to that rolling process.
Low and slow, as they say.
Yeah, low and slow. There you go. And if you want to try this for Sunday afternoon, it's a great hearty meal.
So this is the perfect meal for a Sunday afternoon. This is like Greek comfort food.
Right.
There's a lot of braising, typically in red sauces, different types of meat, chicken, beefs, lambs. And since this takes about 3 hours in the oven, it's something you can do early on in the day. Throw it in the oven.
Right.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Forget about it. Especially now, it's getting a little colder out.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good Sunday meal.
If you want to watch the football game or whatever you want to do, or have some family time, just set it and braise it and let it go for 3.5 hours. So, and that's what it's going to take to get that nice and tender, which is what I just love this dish myself.
And if you forget it, it's not the end of the world.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So.
Well, as we're getting these a little browned up.
Yeah. Now, you're gonna make your sauce in this pan.
In the same pan, yep.
In the same pan.
So after we get these browned, we're gonna remove them, set them aside.
Right.
Drain out some of the fat that's in there, and then we'll make our sauce in the same pan.
Okay, chef just gave you a tip. Once these are browned, you take them out, set them aside, and then drain off some of that fat. Okay, because that's not going to really add much flavor to your finished dish.
Nope.
Make it a little bit oily.
The fat won't. What will is all that lovely stuff that's stuck in the bottom of that pan.
Right, right. Now you can hear this pan. It's really sizzling. And do not be afraid of a hot pan. If in a professional kitchen, they approach their cooking with a medium-low heat, first of all, you'll be sitting an extra half an hour waiting for your meal. You'll be yelling at your server. The server will be complaining to the chef, and the chef will be complaining to the general manager because they're annoying him, okay? And then you're not going to get that caramelization, that browning, that's so important in flavor, okay? So, all right, these are browning up very nicely. And you can see these induction burners are great. I have 3 of them at home, and if I'm doing a large group, okay, and I've used every burner on the stove, then I'll bring out a couple of these, no flame. I used to use and I have the individual butane burners, which work fine, but these are much safer, particularly if you have like 7 or 8 dishes going, and you're afraid of that flame. This works great. Okay, so we're pretty much all browned up here. I'd just like to ask the audience, are you able to see inside this can? Okay, great. All right. Yeah, I got to tell you, we keep talking about smell-o-vision. Oh, the aromas are coming up. I just love it.
Wait till we start with that stuff.
Oh, I know it. It's great. Oh, I love this. Okay. So, are we at a point where we can do a little transfer here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're going to go right into.
Oh, you're going to
right into here.
Oh,
yeah.
Great. Okay.
Go right into here.
Good.
You can fit all of them.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. There we are. All right.
So now this, we can use that pan that the lamb shanks were in just to get rid of some of this oil here.
You want to reserve some of the oil, I'm guessing, or do you just try to drain
No,
it
for
off?
this dish, we don't need any of the oil.
Okay.
So we're just gonna get rid of pretty much all of that.
Right.
So you can still have a little bit
Right.
in the bottom of your pan,
Okay.
and all the little brown stuff, the
particles,
flavor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and Chef just talked about another tip. You see those brown particles? Don't get rid of them. That's all flavor. When you start adding your onion, your tomato, you're going to get a little bit more caramelization. Don't be afraid of that, because once you get your liquid in there,
Yep.
you want to get
That's
that
gonna
up.
lift right up. Yep.
Right, okay.
So what we'll do is go right in with we got about 2 cups of onions.
Again, now he did these in the food processor, but pulse it. Do not turn it on full blast, because you'll just have a big pasty
Of onion juice.
onion
We don't want
juice.
that.
Right,
I'm
okay.
gonna go right in with a few of these bay leaves.
Excellent.
About 4 of them. Give that a little stir.
Right. Now you're sweating the onions.
Sweating the onions a little bit.
Right, bringing the sugars out and some of that gas you're burning off from the onion. And you're also bringing out the oils in the bay leaf, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Just want to toast
great.
these up a little bit. And
Yeah.
another thing I want to put in right now is the garlic.
Oh, excellent, yeah. I have a thing about garlic. I love garlic, but I hate it if I go out to dinner somewhere and the dish is the garlic. So, use your own discretion, but to me, it's an ingredient. It's not supposed to overpower the dish.
Feel that way about mustard? There's a fine line between mustard on a sandwich and a
Yeah.
mustard sandwich.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll use that one if I can. You
by
mind?
all means.
Okay,
It's
I have
yours.
witnesses
It's yours,
here.
Joe.
All right, thank you. All right.
I have my trusty wooden spoon.
Ah, good. Well, don't smash
This is my
it.
mom's wooden spoon.
Right.
She used to beat me with this,
Well, don't
And now-
smash me, yeah?
and now I use it for cooking.
Yeah. Now, does your brother also do the chefing with you, or
No, he's more front of house.
front of
let's
house
say.
guy? Oh, good. Okay.
Cooking hasn't really, it's
Inspired.
not his thing now. Not
Oh,
inspired
okay.
with that.
Well, he's got a great smile.
I guess so.
Yeah,
Sorry, Tony.
we may show him later in the show. He is here this evening.
No, he's an important part to the restaurant.
Right.
He keeps
Things
keeps the
moving.
customers happy. Let's put it that way.
Good.
Keeps everything moving. Yeah.
Right.
Keeps us all moving.
Excellent. Okay, so let's say, now, are you looking for these onions to become translucent?
No,
or-
not necessarily. Because keep in mind, this is going to be in the oven for about 3 hours.
Okay.
So I just want to sweat
Right.
those out a little bit.
Right.
Let some of these flavors mingle.
Okay.
The bay leaves. Now we're just going to add our tomato.
Right. And you actually cut up and pulse.
Cut up and pulse this. Roma tomatoes, beefsteak tomatoes.
Right.
Doesn't really make a difference. Whatever you like.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Now, for the home cook, if they don't want to bother chopping up or pulsing tomatoes, no, can't. Go with the fresh.
You go with the fresh. It's easy. It's easy enough.
Right.
It's
right.
they're
Yeah.
in day and age we can find them. It's a different flavor. Go for the
Right,
fresh.
Yeah. And that's what I love about Italian and Greek cooking. Fresh works best.
Always.
Right? And
Any kind of cooking, really.
Yeah. So, okay, now we're drawing the sugars and the flavors out of the tomato. That's mingling. What do we do next?
Okay, now we're just going to season to taste.
Right,
A little bit of pepper,
right. Okay.
a little bit of, I think this was our salt.
Are you legally blind also?
No,
or-
just tonight.
Okay.
No, we have sugar out here too, so
Oh,
I gotta.
right, right. Okay.
This is very simple dish.
Right.
Not a lot of ingredients.
Yeah. Well,
Salt, pepper, bay leaves.
Right.
We are going to add a little bit of basil towards the end.
Okay. A quick question. Things can be done in balance in cooking. So you have the tomato, which has an acid. The onion has its own acid, I guess.
Acid
But you put a little
and sugar.
So is it about balancing?
Yeah, the sugar,
know?
cut the little, because we do have the tomato, which they tend
Yeah.
to be acidic. Put
Yeah.
them down. The other thing we're going to be adding right about now is red wine.
Ah, is that Italian red wine, chef?
This is a Greek red wine. This is an
okay.
Ayodhitiko.
Oh, good.
This is one of the
Yeah.
premier wines, premier grapes for
Okay.
Greek wine.
Oh,
It's not a cheap bottle wine, but you wouldn't drink cheap wine, so I don't like to cook with cheap wine.
right.
So.
And in the culinary school that I went to, I asked the chef, how do you choose a wine? If you like to drink the wine, that's the one you should use, okay? So you can keep that in mind.
And
Now-
there's our liquid.
Yeah, wow. And so let me ask you this. For the braising piece, we're not going to let it boil, but are you going to let this come to a high?
I'm going to let this come to a boil, correct?
Burn off the alcohol?
Burn off the alcohol a little bit. Again, we will be braising it for 3 hours.
Right, okay.
So, you can smell that right now.
Oh, yeah. It smells fantastic. Now, this is a very dark red wine,
It
isn't
is. It is.
Yeah.
It's very full flavored.
Wow.
That's why I like it for this dish.
Yeah, okay. Would you pronounce the name again?
Ayodhitiko.
Ayodhitiko or...
Ayodhitiko.
Okay. Your brother's name is Tony?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Chef, I'll tell you, the aromas are really starting to travel. And I did have a question, though. Are you looking for a reduction as you're Are you cooking this sauce down a little bit? Not to thicken it, but just to get a richer, fuller flavor?
We just want to bring it to a boil, basically. Let the flavors mix together. We're not trying to reduce it.
Okay.
So, because when we are braising it, we're going to keep it loosely covered, so it will
Right.
obviously reduce as it's
great.
braising with the meat.
Okay.
So we have our wine in.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to hit it with a little bit of sugar, just to break up the acidity a little bit.
Yeah. The aromas are terrific.
And this is starting to come to a boil now.
Right.
And last thing
Okay.
we're going to do, we're going to chop up some basil, some fresh basil.
Okay, great. There you go. I just want to mention, as I'm watching Chef, you notice the cutting technique. You tuck your fingers in, and your knuckles are your gauge so that you're not going to slip and cut yourself. And it's really important. A sharp knife is a good knife, so keep that in mind. If you can keep your knives as sharp as possible, you have them sharpened, then get a steel. And that brings those little burrs back in line again. And that's really what makes up the blade. They're burrs. And after you use it a few times, those burrs will move. So that's when a knife seems to be getting
Honing
done.
them, we'll bring it back to.
Right. Okay.
So this is boiling.
Yeah.
You smell that basil?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I can smell the bay leaf coming out as well. Great. We want to get that sauce over the lamb shanks.
Over the lamb shank here. I'm going to grab our ladle and just start pouring this right over the lamb
Excellent.
shanks.
Oh, boy. This, absolutely. Now, when this is done braising, do you strain what sauce is left and make any kind of a gravy?
No, this is going to be, you'll have like a nice, fairly thick sauce because of all the onion and tomato
Yeah.
we've added.
Okay.
And that's your sauce that you're serving right on the plate with this dish.
Yeah.
And that's the best part.
Oh, boy. This is wonderful.
So we've got this covered pretty well.
Right. Okay.
I think we're ready to cover and go right into the oven.
Okay. We have a small oven here. And what temperature would you set your...
Around 350
Okay.
for about 2 hours, 45 minutes to 3 hours.
Okay. So, in a commercial kitchen, obviously, you're getting probably a more concentrated heat. But at the home, 350, 360 if necessary.
Even 375.
Yeah, so just, know your own oven, really.
Yeah.
And again, you can braise on the top of your stove.
That's what I was going to mention. Another option is after you make the sauce, throw the lamb shanks right back in the pan here, cover it tight.
Cover it, right, yeah.
And around, same time, simmer for around 2.5 to 3 hours.
Excellent.
And you get great results that way too.
Okay. Now, Chef, can we demonstrate your lemon roasted potatoes
Of
quickly?
course. Another very simple dish.
Yeah.
We have our cut potatoes.
Right.
These are Prince Edward Island chef potatoes. Okay. You can use any kind. I've done this at home using red potatoes, fingerling potatoes.
Yeah.
The results are, pretty much the same. Whichever potato you like. So we're just going to add, again, to taste, salt.
Yeah.
A little bit of pepper.
Mm-hmm.
Granulated garlic.
Right.
Now we're going to cover these up with water.
Ooh.
So about halfway to 2/3.
Right.
Our
Greek
olive oil.
Well, I use the Italian olive oil, but Greek olive oil is great as well. But it does have a little bit. It has more.
It's got more of a kick to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and a little bit floury, smelling.
It's
more
got
than Italian.
even a little bit peppery back taste.
Yeah.
So that's all we're gonna put right now.
Okay.
We're gonna cover these up with foil, and these are also gonna go in the oven, 375 or so.
Yeah.
For about 45 minutes to an hour until we want these to get tender. We want them to cook.
Yeah.
So these are going to go in the oven.
Okay.
About 45 minutes or so.
Right.
Check them with a fork.
Right.
See if they're done. As soon as they're done, we want to uncover them. We're going to pour
lemon juice.
Lemon juice. About a quarter cup of lemon juice.
Okay.
And then we're going to add our oregano on top as well.
Okay.
Adding the oregano ahead of time gives it a little bit of a bitter flavor.
Okay.
So I like to do that towards the end.
Chef just gave you a great tip on the oregano. Don't add it in the beginning because it's going to be roasting after it's done. So you don't want to have a bitter aftertaste. Now, Chef, you added water. After these become fork tender,
yes,
you're going to drain that water?
No, the water is going to stay in there.
Oh, okay.
It's going to soak most of that water up.
Okay.
So once they become fork tender, we take them out, uncover them.
Yeah.
Then we add the oregano, add about a quarter cup of the lemon juice.
Yeah.
They'll go back into the oven uncovered.
Okay.
You can even kick up the temperatures to like 400, 425 or so at that point.
Yeah. Okay.
Another 15 or 20 minutes or so, then you get that nice golden color on the outside.
Nice.
So once you get the color to where you like it, pull those suckers out, they're good to go.
Yeah, so, if you're braising your lamb shanks for 3.5 hours, figure an hour and 10 minutes before done, and then your potatoes.
Yep, exactly. An hour and a
done.
half into it, you start prepping your halftime during the game.
Okay.
Get those potatoes going.
Okay. I want to just mention one thing about choosing an olive oil, and there are all kinds of olive oils on the shelf. If you want an Italian olive oil, it may say packed in Italy. That's generally a blend of olive oils, but they could come from various countries. They may not be pure Italian olive oil, okay? So if you're a purist, if you're a foodie, just remember, look at that label. If it says product of Italy, product of Greece, then you know that those are Greek olives, Italian olives. If it says packed, that's a blend. It could come from Tunisia, from who knows where, okay? So, and I'm not saying it's a bad olive oil. I like to stick with packed or product of. Then I know I'm getting the real thing, all right? Okay, we'd like to thank Chef Xeno, and we have a plated meal, a finished product. Obviously, we couldn't show you the 3.5-hour braising period of the lamb or the hour and 10, 15 minutes of the roasting potatoes. But chef, because he's been cooking so long, has Teflon fingers. So he put a plate in the oven to keep the meal warm. We're going to show you what the final dish looks like. And again, we want to thank Mother Brook Arts and Community Center. If you like art, you'll love Mother Brook Arts and Community Center. Oh my goodness, look at that.
Yeah, the magic of television.
Oh God. You know, this absolutely smells fantastic, and I hope it wasn't the tips of your fingers burning, but I'm presuming it was the lamb.
They wouldn't smell that good.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chef. This looks fantastic. And I think our audience is, I see bibs going on out there. Okay. So thank you again.
Thank you, Chef.
Okay, great.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's wine pairing. My name is Carol O'Connor. I'm here with John Paul Kaminga. He is the wine sommelier and wine manager of Blanchard's Wines and Spirits in Jamaica Plain. Today, chef owner Xeno of Kouzina, located in Dedham Square, he had made a braised lamb shank served with those lemon roasted potatoes as well as a Greek salad. So I gave John Paul the task of choosing a wine that would pair very well with the lamb shank. So my friend, what did you choose today?
I've got a Ribera del Duero. The name of the wine is Torremoron, but the region is Ribera del Duero. It's a Tempranillo, which a lot of people know probably from Rioja. It's the major grape in Rioja, but it's actually grown all over Spain, and Ribera del Duero is also the major grape. Here it's completely unoaked. So the focus is on the fruit flavors. So you got these really deep, dark fruit flavors. It goes really, really well with lamb. And it actually comes from 80 to 100-year-old vines, which is pretty special. Not a lot of wines are coming from vines that old. And in most other regions, a wine from 80 to 100-year-old vines will cost a lot more money. Once your vines get really old, they start to produce less grapes. So you get more concentration in the grapes, and you get generally darker colors, more more tannins, but also kind of more refined flavors as well. Basically, you can get a lot of character from a wine made from very old vines, and a lot easier.
Very interesting. Let's try this.
Yeah,
wow.
let's give it a try.
That's an interesting history about it.
Yeah, I mean, all over Spain, all over Europe, in fact, you have old vines that are often underappreciated. And when you don't use any oak in a wine, it's you're trying to make something maybe more simple. It's a kind of distinctly unambitious way to make a wine. You're not spending a lot of money on oak barrels to make it. You're not trying to gussy it up, and this is just a nice everyday wine. I really love it, but it's actually more serious than I kind of make it out to be. It's quite nice.
Very dark. This is darker than.
Yeah, well, so compared
last
to,
week's wine.
it's nearly opaque. If you put your hand underneath it, you can't really see it. And compared to most Tempranillo from Rioja, Tempranillo from Ribera del Duero tends to be much darker, much fuller, lower acidity, higher tannins. And this is kind of adhering to that
Did you say higher
stereotype.
tannins?
Yeah, well, this isn't too tannic, though. You can have very high tannins, but they can be soft sometimes.
Ooh, I like this one.
It's awesome. Should be really good with the lamb. Those tannins really match well with the kind of meaty flavor that you get from lamb.
Yeah, this is definitely not going to overpower the lamb.
No,
it's going to go well.
Yeah.
You always pick the. How do you know this? Like, do you eat? Do you eat everything before I tell you the task of the week? Like, do you go out to eat and eat the duck, or eat the lamb? All these.
Well, lamb is just so much fun to pair with wine.
Is it really?
Yeah. Whenever there's lamb on the table, I always want to have a bottle of red wine. So for lamb, it's kind of easy. You can find a lot of different things to go with it. The reason I chose this in particular is for the lemon potatoes. I thought I don't want anything too heavy. I want something with really bright fruit, but I still want those tannins to go with the lamb. So
good job, perfect. Thanks, John Paul.
No problem.
Awesome. So everyone, this has been this week's wine pairing for Xeno. He made the braised lamb shank with the fingerling lemon potatoes. So we hope that you'll enjoy this wine, and we'll see you next week.
Hi folks, Steve LeCount, chef owner of Chiara Bistro in Westwood, coming at you this week with this week's Chef's Tip of the Week. This week I wanted to talk about a piece of equipment that I find totally invaluable at the restaurant. For relatively short money, you can buy one of these. They come in smaller sizes as well for the home use, but it's called a food mill. And the reason we love it so much is we have a signature dish that's a potato gnocchi on there. And these food mills come with usually with a set of 3 different dies. This is the largest one. And then there's a little spring-loaded blade here. So when you put that die in, you want that curved side facing up, and then you just place the blade into the hole in the center, and this is why the spring is there. You push down on this and hook it onto these little hooks, and from there it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. What I love about this is, again, we make our potato gnocchi with them. This is what we pass our potatoes through. But there are many, many uses for this. You can do it for butternut squash, cooked pumpkin, anything that carrots, whatever you like to make a puree out of. You could put a finer die in there with smaller holes if you want that puree to be totally smooth. But today I'm going to show you mashed potatoes because people often ask, how do you get those potatoes so smooth? Mine always have lumps in them. And I've got some cooked right behind me. And when we make mashed potatoes, we like to use Idaho potatoes because they naturally have a less of a water content. And you see my potatoes have no water in here right now. I did boil these, but I also, after I drain them, I put them back in the pot, put the burner on low, and let most of the water evaporate out of those, which is kind of important. You're getting nice, fluffy, smooth potatoes. So I'm going to scoop those into this food mill. And this food mill comes with a little hook here. And you just hook that onto the pot like that. And from there, you just grab this handle and you just crank the handle, and it passes. It mills the food through the holes in the die. And it's really that easy. Now behind me I've also heated up a little bit of light cream and whole butter that I've put into the light cream. And just scrape the excess off there. Okay, so that's what it comes out looking like. Not a lump in this. So I'm going to season those a little bit, salt and pepper. My butter is already in the cream. I'm just going to add a little as I need it. And then just all I have to do from there is stir. Now, today we all have food processors. It's one of the worst things you can ever try to make mashed potatoes with, and I'll tell you why. Potatoes have natural gluten in them. It's just like flour. If you overwork it, that gluten, it ends up the gluten is just what forms like elasticity in bread doughs, and potatoes have quite a bit of natural gluten in there. So the more you move the potatoes around, the more of that gluten you're activating, and you're going to end up with a gummy, stretchy kind of potato. So if you ever try to do it in a food processor for mashed potatoes, I guarantee you they're going to come out like glue. Where these are nice and fluffy, they haven't got a lump in them, smooth as silk. And I'm going to go eat these right now. So, Steve LeCount from Chiara Bistro in Westwood with this week's Chef's Tip of the Week. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Margery Gann, and I work at Ethos in Jamaica Plain, and we're an organization that serves elders and people of all ages with disabilities. We're also the nutrition provider for Southwest Boston, so we serve Meals on Wheels, community cafes, and provide in-home nutrition consultation. I've been a registered dietitian, wife and mom for over 30 years, so I've developed some pretty good nutrition tips to help that are practical and easy to do. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about sodium. Sodium is half of salt, which is actually sodium chloride, and it's estimated that in the United States, people eat about, say, give or take, 2,500 milligrams of sodium a day. Now, the Institute of Medicine says it should only be 1,500. And for people who eat a lot of salt, which probably would be males around 30, you're actually talking as much as say 4,000 milligrams. So here's a little quiz. Here are 3 foods, and they have different amounts of sodium. Which food on this table is the saltiest? Is it the hamburger bun, my little chocolate cupcake, or the ounce of potato chips? And I will bet that 80% of you will say it's the potato chips. But being sneaky, these are actually the lowest sodium food on this table. This is an ounce of potato chips. These happen to be a reduced fat potato chip, which have less salt on them. So these come in at 85 milligrams for this size serving. The cupcake, and this is a pretty little cupcake if you look at it, 135 milligrams, and you'd probably eat both of the ones that came in the package. And the hamburger bun is the surprise, because that's got 220 milligrams of sodium. So if you add into this the hamburger, the French fries, and probably maybe 4 tablespoons of ketchup, we're really looking at 1,000 milligrams in this one meal versus the Institute of Medicine's recommendation of 1,500 milligrams for the entire day. So you can see why those 30-year-old men are getting their excess sodium. So the easiest ways to cut down on sodium? Probably eat fewer processed foods, lots more fresh fruits and vegetables. And that's my tip for the day. I'm Margery Gann, and I'm here for Chef's Table. Thank you for joining me.
Due to popular demand, we are going to re-air one of our most popular Chef's Tips of the Week segments.
Hi folks, Steve LeCount, chef owner of Chiara Bistro in Westwood, coming at you with this week's Chef's Tip. This week I just want to talk about an easy way to get pomegranate seeds out of the pomegranate. I remember when we were kids and we used to call these Chinese apples, and we used to quarter them like that, and then we sat around the table, and I think maybe my parents did it on purpose to keep us out of trouble and keep us occupied for a while, and we would just take teaspoons and try to pick out through all this membrane that's completely throughout a pomegranate. I love pomegranates, great winter use. You'll see them around all the time. They make beautiful holiday decorations, but they are naturally loaded with antioxidants. It's one of the healthiest fruits you can eat, but they have a nice tartness to them and a nice crunch to them too. And I like to contrast in things like salads with goat cheese, where you have a soft goat cheese. You have a nice contrast to that with the crunch from and the tartness of the pomegranate. We also tend to use it a lot on duck dishes or chicken dishes with maybe a sweet glaze, something with like honey and molasses or maple. You've got all that sugar going on that, so you want something tart to slice through that and balance out that dish. So pomegranate seeds seem to be perfect for that. But anyway, back to the original point. How do I get all those seeds out of there without spending half my life doing so? I just cut it in half horizontally. Put your hand over a bowl, and just like the kid you wanted to keep occupied for hours getting those seeds out, give it a good spanking with a heavy kitchen spoon, and you'll see mostly just seeds come out of there. And to get the rest, just keep banging on it with that spoon, and they will come out like that, and you'll have a bowl full of these before you know it. Steve LeCount, chef owner of Chiara Bistro, and that's this week's Chef's Tip.
Hi, I'm Margery Gann, and I work at Ethos in Jamaica Plain. We work with elders and people of all ages with disabilities, and we provide, among other services, home-delivered meals, community cafes, and in-home nutrition consultation services. I'm a registered dietitian, wife and mom for over 30 years, and in that time I've learned some pretty good ways of getting my family to eat well, and I hope I can relay those to you as well. And today I want to talk about greens, particularly dark green leafy vegetables, because dark green leafy vegetables are full of something called phytonutrients or phytochemicals. And what those are active compounds in the vegetables that benefit human health. They're not vitamins themselves, but they do help with your continued well-being. One of the nicest things about this kind of a vegetable is that it's very low calorie. So a cup of chopped kale is a mere 33 calories. It's also loaded with nutrients, something like 600% of your vitamin K for the day, 200% of the vitamin A you need, And in the case of kale, over 100% of your daily need for vitamin C. So it's also a good source of minerals, copper, manganese, and phosphorus. And on top of it all, most of these even taste good. So what else could you ask for? So, and when we look at these, one of the reasons people tend to shy away from some of these is because they're in the cabbage family, the so-called cruciferous vegetables. And that means if you've ever cooked cabbage, you cook it too long and your house is full of that horrible sulfur smell. Well, you don't need to do that because cooking these does not require a long cooking time as long as you do some of the work before you ever cook them. What you're going to do is you're going to cut away some of the stem. Then you're going to roll it just like this. Sometimes you can roll two at once. And you're going to chiffonade, as the chefs would say. I would say cut very, very thinly. And if you're really going to be sensible about it, instead of doing it the way I'm doing it, you're going to roll up a couple of them, get out your food processor, put it in the chute just like this, and you'll have mountains of perfectly shredded collards in an instant. Then steam it lightly, and because you've cut it into such nice thin little strips, it really tenderizes very, very quickly and keeps its beautiful dark green color. Dress it with a little olive oil, garlic, salt, and pepper, and you've got yourself an absolutely fabulous main part of the plate vegetable. If you want even a prettier vegetable, how about Swiss chard? Chard has these beautiful ribs, and they'll stay nice and red, look really pretty on the plate. Sometimes you can get chard with yellow and white and red, even better looking. And here we have curly kale, another powerhouse. Now, spinach, and we have some fresh spinach here. Spinach is an interesting one because spinach on its own is pretty fluffy. And people say, oh, I'm going to eat a spinach salad, I'm going to get all my nutrients. One of the problems is, face it, how many leaves of fresh spinach are you going to eat at a time? This whole pile of fresh spinach is actually the same amount as in this one little frozen package, both about 10 ounces. So you can see spinach shrinks incredibly when you cook it. So you have to think about that in terms of portions and the amount of nutrients you're getting. One of the nutrients that's also in all of these is calcium. But you do have to be careful because the calcium in these particular vegetables are also found with oxalates. And oxalates are naturally occurring compounds, and those oxalates will bind the calcium. So you're not going to get the full benefit of the calcium. So for a good dose of phytonutrients, vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin C, stick with those nice, healthy, dark green leafy vegetables. I'm Margery Gann, and I'm here for Chef's Table, and thank you for joining me.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Chef's Table Series Restaurant Interview. My name is Carol O'Connor, co-host of this instructional cooking show. Today we are here at Kouzina, located in Dedham Square. I am with Xeno Sountoulidis. He is the chef owner here. So Xeno, thank you so much for being on the restaurant interview with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Perfect. So Xeno, when did you start this restaurant?
Actually, we'll have our 7th anniversary
Lucky
next month.
seven.
Next month,
Good.
November 2007. Wanted to create a place. We wanted to serve the food that we would normally have at home, like a big Sunday dinner when you have the family over. So it's kind of comfort food.
Right.
And that's where the name came from too, Kouzina, which means kitchen in Greek.
Oh, that's interesting.
The kitchen is the nucleus of
Yes.
the Greek household. That's where all the action happens, all the gossip, all the everything's centered around food too. So that's basically where everybody always gathers.
Right, and that's true with a lot of families. Is that that's where everyone gathers, and then you see people doing over their kitchens, making it bigger to expand and allow people
to accommodate more people.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
And I realize this is what I love doing.
You do love it?
Yes.
It is a passion.
It is.
It is a passion.
Labor of love.
Now tell me about some of the dishes here. Are they? I'm sure there's secret family recipes.
Yes.
But have you developed any of the recipes yourself?
Actually, the one recipe that we were cooking for the show, the Braised Lamb Shank, is a Xeno original.
Is it? It is.
It is. I mean, it is based on a traditional Greek dish, which, braised meats in the red sauce. I just kind of played around with the flavors a little bit more. Usually there's cinnamon in there.
Yes.
Which I want to do something,
funky.
a little different with the basil instead of cinnamon.
Yeah, everyone loved it. I mean, it was greatly executed, and
Thank
it
you.
tasted so good. And
Great.
you know, everyone loves the lemon potatoes and the Greek salads. So, what are like some dishes everyone seems to go towards when they come to your restaurant?
A lot of the grilled meats, the kebabs, the souvlaki,
Yep.
which are kebabs basically on,
Yep.
on the skewers. We have lamb, beef, pork, chicken, shrimp. That's always, you know, a big favorite. Another one is what we have in front of us here is the dolmades, which are the stuffed grape leaves.
Oh, and what are they stuffed with?
These are stuffed with rice and ground beef,
Oh,
and they're
delish.
topped with the egg lemon sauce.
What type of lemon sauce?
Egg lemon sauce. It's almost like a hollandaise.
Is it? Oh,
yeah,
that's
along those
unique.
lines.
Oh, perfect.
And this is another traditional dish, and
Oh,
a pain to make.
Is it a pain to make?
It's
I know it's a lot of-
painstaking. A lot of rolling,
and
sitting
stuffing.
there, back breaking, yeah, rolling for hours.
Now, I met your brother. He's now part of the restaurant
Yes,
as
he
well.
is.
Did he do the same thing as you? Was like, tried it, left it, tried it?
Exactly.
Now staying?
Exactly, yeah. So
Perfect.
we sucked him back in too, yeah.
And tell me about your restaurant. How many seats is there? And,
We have 24 seats.
ooh, yep.
So it's cozy, it's intimate. Again, going back to, you know, we have the open kitchen,
Yep.
so we
People
can
love that.
sit and talk with the people as they're dining, and they a lot of people mention they feel like they're in, you know, their family's kitchen, just
Exactly.
sitting chit chatting. So it's nice and cozy. We like that. We do serve beer and wine as well,
Oh, good.
which makes it feel like, you know,
Yeah, especially
typical
at
Greek
nighttime.
household.
Yes. Oh. Now you open you open for lunch.
We're open
correct?
for lunch and dinner, yes, Tuesday through Saturday, and we are closed on Sunday and Monday.
Oh, good. Well, you need a rest.
We need
So,
a rest, yes.
You're busy. 3 boys, right?
3 boys at home, yeah.
Oh.
I need to see them, spend some
yeah.
time with them as well.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, Xeno, thank you so much for being on the restaurant interview segment.
My
And
pleasure.
I want
Thank
to
you
let
for having
everyone
me.
know that Xeno, like me, as well as Frank Floyd, as well as Xeno's brother Tony, we all graduated from Boston Latin School.
Sumus Primi.
That's right. Wolfpack all the way. So everyone, this has been the restaurant interview segment of the Chef's Table series. I'm Carol O'Connor, and we'll see you next week.
This absolutely. Now, when this is done braising, do you strain what sauce is left and make any kind of a gravy?
No, this is going to be, you'll have like a nice, fairly thick sauce because of all the onion and tomato we've added.
Okay.
And that's your sauce.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness, look at that.
Yeah, the magic of television.
Oh, God. You know, this absolutely smells fantastic, and I hope it wasn't the tips of your fingers burning, but I'm
No, that's-
presuming it was the lamb.
They wouldn't smell that good.
Okay. Well,
The Chef's Table series is shooting on location in cities and towns across Massachusetts. If you would like to suggest your favorite restaurant or attend a live taping of the show, please visit thechefstableseries.tv.